Okay, let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden's document dump. It's on my mind. I might as well get this out there as soon as I can. Let's see how right I am about this. So let's look at the facts of this. Uh, Apparently, Joe Biden has, why he was vice president, and after the Obama administration ended and Trump was coming in, he obviously took some classified documents as vice president and hid them in three specific spots. One of them was an office where he's got a think tank. One of them was in his garage, and the other one was in an office in his house in Delaware, and the garage in Delaware. And unlike Donald Trump, who was a president and took documents, which is normal, and was in the process of negotiating with the archives to decide what he can keep and what he can't keep, because they all knew where everything was. It wasn't unknown to them. They knew about it, and then they have an FBI raid with cameras there early in the morning. They called them up, told them, and then they laid them all out real nice for the world to see. Oh, look, And so all of a sudden, just I don't know where this happens to Joe Biden, right? And what you don't know is these things were discovered the first week of November, sometime in December, and now in January. So these three separate items that Joe Biden has laid out were discovered. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who discovered them? Who knew they were there? And why are they brought to the public's attention? Haven't you thought about that? Have you thought about that? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. How did they find this? Now they're mentioning, lawyers found this, which means somebody knew that the stuff was there and they directed lawyers to go find them. Then who let the press know? I mean, if I knew these things were there, I would remove them myself and put them somewhere where no one would find them. So the question is, who knew they were there? If Joe Biden knew they were there, he obviously thought that everything is safe, no one's going to ever know. But if lawyers went there, then somebody knew, and somebody went looking for them, and then somebody reported them. Why? Why would they report them? Why would they possibly want to do harm to this man, particularly if it's somebody that you know, right? So if it's somebody that's working for you and you want to protect that person, you would go there and you would take it, and no one would ever know about it. The press would never know. No one would know about it. Not a single person would know about it. Now, if Joe had all his faculties there, he would have taken care of it himself, right? He would have done a Hillary Clinton, went down in the basement and destroyed everything so no one could ever find it. If you were smart, he didn't do that. So we have a question. We have a couple questions here. First of all, why didn't they since the government knew about it and the Justice Department knew about it in November, it was before the midterm elections. Oh, gee, isn't that a big shocker? Look what they knew before an election cycle. Geez, isn't that a big shocker, huh? And then they let you know, 2 months later. So they find these other ones. So it really is a big question. Who did this? Who knew they were there? And who went there, or who sent somebody there? And who told everybody? Who told the world? Who decided to tell the world? Knowing this was going to cause a huge political scandal. Huge, because all of a sudden now, you're going to prosecute Trump for this type of thing, even though everybody knew where the documents were since he left. I mean, it was well known, and he admits that they were there, and the State Department admits it was there. The Justice Department knows it's there. The Archives Department knew it was there. They were in the process of negotiating what is archival and what isn't, which, from what I understand, every president does. Look it up. That is the protocol and that's the procedure. Nothing unusual, but the media makes it interesting. Well, how come, like I said, all right, they find these things for Joe Biden, but nobody spread this stuff out to take pictures of it and send to the media, right? So what's the end game here? What's going on? What are they doing? Okay? Why are they deliberately sabotaging Joe Biden? The people that obviously know him, the people that obviously know where he's keeping things that he took. And then you have to ask yourself, what did he take? What is hidden? All right, so let's just use some logic, right? Let's use some logic. Let's assume that Joe Biden has done some questionable things in particular companies and countries in Eastern Europe, with particular companies involving his son that are actually illegal, and there's a paper trail, and you were doing it for 8 years while you were the vice president under another president, and you leave that administration and you don't want anybody to find out what you're doing, so you take that stuff and hide it, particularly if the news breaks that your son has been doing some criminal activity in said countries, and then all of a sudden a video comes out of you talking about doing something questionable with some said country. And all of a sudden, and you realize now you're president and you got these documents hiding somewhere, there's something funny going on. Now, unless you're a total mental case, leftist, woke, just lost your marble like Joy Behar, who has no credible thinking cell working in her brain, you would look at this and say, this is funny business, right? That's the real question. I've been watching a lot of stuff on this, and not a single person has mentioned, okay, who went there outside of quote unquote lawyers? So who sent the lawyers there? Who knew this stuff was there? And why did it get leaked to the press? So what's the end game of this? My guess is they don't want this guy running again. I suspect that his own people, somebody in his camp, is plotted and colluded to try to make him resign so he can't run again, or make him step out of 2024. Isn't it interesting? I mean, we only have 1 year left for an election, and Trump is running again. So think, people, think. Use the mind that God gave you and consider the things I am bringing to your attention if you haven't thought of it already. I mean, I have got boxes and boxes of paperwork from when I have my business. I have to keep them for 7 years before I can put them up in smoke. I can't wait. My wife knows where they're at, and I think one other person knows where they're at. If I have something nefarious in there and one person knows where it's at, well, I'm going to pretty much know who said something. So if the FBI agents came knocking at my door and wanted to know where the paperwork was and they went right to it, they would know where it is. So somebody, I mean, Joe Biden's either has a rat in the camp, or he is deliberately being set up. Can you imagine the things they're talking about behind the scenes? Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall? But that's my big question. Who did this? Because I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't any Republican knocking on Joe Biden's door and going through his garage. You know, who found it? And they keep saying lawyers. So maybe they sent lawyers to collect this paperwork. Maybe Joe Biden said, oh man, I got some stuff. You guys better go and get it. And maybe he sent some lawyers and do it. And then somebody said something. Somebody leaked it out. Will we ever know? Probably not. I mean, we don't know who leaked out the memo when the Supreme Court was thinking about the Roe v. Wade thing, and there wasn't even an investigation. How hard is it to find that person that did that? They just don't want to do it. So think about this. Who snitched on old man Joe? Who snitched? Somebody knew. And it either accidentally happened and too many people ended up knowing about it, and somebody that not involved directly said something, and then they had to run cover and take care of it real fast before it broke, before it actually, before it became like another raid on Mar-a-Lago, which is possible. There's a lot of things here, but none of it makes sense. This could have easily been swept under the rug and nobody would have ever known about it if there were people that were loyal. So think about what the long-term consequences of this is. So, I'm making this just as a personal record because it is really bothering me to see this stuff in the media. Nobody asks this question. I mean, what kind of piss poor examples of journalists are they out there? Every single news outlet and journalist that you want to be a journalist and you're not thinking at least like me. At this point, I should win a Pulitzer Prize for all these jokers that are on our regular lamestream media. And ask yourself that question. It's not a hard question to ask. Who knew about this? Who leaked it? And what is the end game? What are you? Because it only has one. There's only one reason why you would do this, is to get rid of this guy and replace him with who and why. Who did this? Now, I'm going to leave you with a thought. If you think Joe Biden is running the show, I think you need to have your head examined. Now, who is Joe Biden close to? Well, he's close to Barack Obama. Some reporter once, and you can find it, a reporter once asked Barack Obama if he would run, if he had the opportunity to have a third term, would you do it? And you know what he said? Well, if I could do it from a basement and talk on the phone. Well, guess what? He has the opportunity to work from a basement and talk on the phone at this point. And there was a particular press conference with Jen Psaki, and somebody asked her, about the president and talking with the president, and she had a Freudian slip, and she said this: I talk with President Biden every day. Gee, we call that a Freudian slip. Look it up. Is there truth to a Freudian slip? Well, if you know what it is and you've done it, there's some truth to it. Oh boy. So is it a possibility? Well, maybe Obama. When old Joe ran for office, Obama told him, Joe, you don't have to do this. Makes you wonder. Be a critical thinker. Don't believe everything you hear, and everything you hear, question. And please, please use your brain and try to examine what's going on, because there's some funny business going on. And then try to read through the lies that they spill out of their mouths every single day, and try to read between the lines, and let your mind go on a spot. Who found them? Why are they doing this? And what are the long-term implications of it? Because there's reasons behind all of this stuff. Till next time.